There's breaking news coming in from Europe at this hour. A 6.1 magnitude earthquake has just struck near the coast of Italy. The earthquake's epicenter was Tyrrhenian Sea, about 19 kilometers away from the island of Ischia, near Naples. Initial reports suggest that the earthquake occurred at a depth of 377 kilometers. The quake's effects have been felt in Italy, Vatican City, San Marino, and as far as Croatia as well. Reports of damage are still awaited, but a 6.1 magnitude earthquake is 100% considered moderately strong to very strong. That's the latest that we are tracking for you at this hour. A 6.1 magnitude earthquake has just struck near the coast of Italy. The epicenter was the Tyrrhenian Sea, about 19 kilometers away from the island of Ischia near Naples. The 7th edition of the India-Japan Joint Military Exercise, Dharma Guardian 2026. It culminated at the Foreign Training Node in India's northern state of Uttarakhand. The annual exercise, held alternately in India and Japan since 2018, is an important facet of India-Japan defense cooperation, and it assumes added significance in view of shared security challenges. There's more in this next report. Take a look.
Now to a new video that's adding another layer to the investigation into the deadly strike that hit a girls' elementary school in southern Iran. It happened at the start of the joint U.S.-Israeli military strikes. Watch this. This video, posted by Iran's government-sponsored Mer News and verified by the New York Times, appears to show the moment a missile slams into a target near the town of Minob. You can hear it as the explosion hits. The video is filmed from a nearby construction site, and according to CNN and ABC, analysts say the missile seen in the footage closely matches the profile of a U.S. Tomahawk cruise missile. Those missiles are operated by the U.S. Navy and typically launch from warships or submarines. They're often used in the opening phase of military operations before aircraft can gain full control of the space. The video appears to show the missile hitting a building inside or right next to an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval base. But nearby sits an elementary school, the same school Iranian officials say was struck in the same series of attacks. Iran says the strike killed more than 160 people, many of them children. The question of who is responsible remains politically charged. President Trump on Saturday blamed Iran itself, suggesting the strike was caused by inaccurate Iranian munitions.
No, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Nixon? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating?
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done by Iran.
For now, U.S. officials say the strike is still under investigation.
Putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices for American families. We've done that. We've done it. We brought it very low. This was just an excursion into something that had to be done. We're getting very close to finishing that, too. So we're winning very decisively. We're way ahead of schedule. Our military is the greatest in the world, with the greatest equipment and the greatest people in the world. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Iran's a very powerful country. They were going to take over the Middle East. If we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands. Since their last hit, they had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed. but they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
Due to the fuel crisis and rising energy prices triggered by the ongoing US-Israeli war with Iran, Pakistan has announced a series of austerity measures aimed at reducing fuel consumption across the country. As part of the measures, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced that schools will be shut for a fortnight, while higher educational institutions will shift to online classes. The fuel allowance for official vehicles will be cut by 50%. However, ambulances and public buses are exempt. For the next 2 months, 60% of vehicles used by government departments will be taken off the road. At a meeting held on Monday, it was also decided that ministers will forego 2 months of their salary. Parliamentarian salaries will also be cut by 25%.
For the next 2 months, there will be a 50% immediate cut in the fuel allocation for government vehicles. In government and private sectors, excluding extremely essential services, 50% of the staff will work from home at all other places. Offices will be open only 4 days a week. An extra holiday is being given to save fuel, but this won't apply to banks.
These measures have received mixed reactions from the Pakistani public. While some say it's a necessary step to minimize the impact on the country's economy, others have expressed anger and sharply criticized the government's decision.
We've heard that the government is advising schools to close and they're going to close them. Either way, it's not right. For people like us who deal in school accessories and uniforms, it's going to be very tough to make ends meet. Using petrol prices as an excuse for this isn't justified.
While these measures take effect from next week, the Chief Minister of Punjab Province has already ordered schools, colleges and universities to shut from today. The institutions have been asked to conduct online classes, although exams will continue. Global oil prices have jumped above $100 a barrel for the first time since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Pakistan depends heavily on energy imports from the Gulf, and last week raised petrol prices by about 20%, triggering long queues at petrol stations across the country. In fact, petrol and diesel prices were hiked by 55 rupees per litre, roughly 20 US cents. The largest increase on record after global oil markets surged due to the conflict. The Gulf crisis is also impacting other South Asian countries. In Bangladesh, for example, which imports 95% of its energy needs, the government has introduced fuel rationing, leading to long queues at filling stations. Security has also been increased amid fears of public unrest, and light displays for Independence and Ramadan celebrations have been cancelled. Sri Lanka has also announced a nationwide increase in fuel prices effective from midnight of March 9th. According to the new pricing structure, several fuel categories have seen a significant hike.
Подчеркну, Россия выступает, еще раз скажу об этом, надежным поставщиком энергоносителей. Так было всегда. Мы, безусловно, продолжим поставлять нефть и газ в те страны, которые сами являются надежными контрагентами. Имею в виду не только наших партнеров в Азиатско-Тихоокеанском регионе, но и в государствах Восточной Европе, таких как Словакия и Венгрия. Если европейские компании, европейские покупатели вдруг решат переориентироваться и обеспечить нам долгосрочную, устойчивую совместную работу, лишенную политической конъюнктуры, избавленную от политической конъюнктуры. Пожалуйста, мы же никогда не отказывались. Мы готовы работать и с европейцами. Но нам нужны какие-то сигналы от них, что они готовы и тоже хотят работать и обеспечат нам эту устойчивость и стабильность.
Patuloy nilang ginigera ang Palestine, no? Patuloy nilang ginigera. Noong nakaraan ay inabdak nila si Maduro ng Venezuela. Tapos wala pang 2 buwan, no? Ay inatake na naman nila itong mamamayan ng Iran. So talagang hindi ito acceptable. Ito ay pagpapakita na si Donald Trump, ang US government mismo, ang numero 1 mamamatay tao.
No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air. The whole damn system. The whole damn system. We won't pay for war and slaughter. Hospitals is a crime. No more wars for empire. We know what we're fighting for. Not another endless war. We know what we're fighting for. Man's war. Donald Trump, you're a liar. We won't pay for empire.
All praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Machakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the owners of the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, and wherever you may be, to you I say, Shalom, Yasharallah, Shalom. This is 2 Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he may, and boy, oh boy, have the prophecies turned up. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people, which we have an earthquake clip, this is probably about the third one in the last few days, which of course there's more earthquakes than that constantly happening, but major enough to make the news. This is probably like the third one maybe I've seen over the last 4 or 5 days. Okay, and uproars of the people in the world. All right, and that's major, because first you had when the SOI first started going against the Gaza, the Gaza Strip, you had people that were, standing ground on both sides, all right, protesting around the world. Those that were standing with the SOI and those that were standing with the Palestinians. And to this day, you still have people chanting, free Palestine from the river to the sea, whatever, the little chant goes. So you had a major separation. There was a very major separation between those that stood for the SOI and those that stood for the Palestinians. All right, and then come along the persecution of the, of using ICE. All right, and so you had what? You had a lot of division there. Those that were okay with ICE and stood for ICE, and those that were standing for, which they don't know who they are, but standing for the Northern Kingdom. Okay, so you had major division, and there was a lot of protests behind that. ICE, a lot of protests, people got deleted, and now you have the new big protest across the world, which is those that are standing for Iran and those that are standing for the SOI. Okay, and so this is what you see happening, people protesting around the world once again, because there's always a division, there's always two sides. Okay, it's like the old the boxing it was a little beat up raggedy game, the Rock'em Sock'em. There was a blue one and there was a red one. All right, so there was always one side or the other, because a man can't box himself. So, and I'm not talking about shadow boxing either, so a man can't box himself. So there's this side and there's that side. And so people are always divided down the middle. And then you have so many other differences in the world. Okay, but based on the clip that we just played, or clips plural, this is what you see once again. Protests around the world for the current war that also America is engaged in. Okay, and it says, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. All right, there's going to be many, many things that are going to happen in this time period that we're living in. Okay, all types of things are going to be happening in this time period. All right. Both scary things as well as comforting things, because the Lord is going to be dealing with, his hopeful elect remnant. All right, but this is going to be a crazy, crazy world that we're that we're living in. It's going to get crazier as we continue to move forward. I'm going to jump over here. As a matter of fact, I'll just slide over there through the channels to 15. 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 14. Woe, destruction to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And as we mentioned, people are now protesting all over the world with this current, Iran situation. Okay, and a lot of the major blowback, which people are still talking about, was from the bombing of the girls' school. Okay. America ignores international law. They break the rules of engagement behind, falling behind what? The SOI, the least of the flock. And it says the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay. And so, of course, naturally, you always see what people standing and, on one side or the other right here in Babylon the Great, which ties in Isaiah 19 chapter. The Egyptians against the Egyptians, because everybody's always going to have a decision that the opposite person doesn't like. Okay, I'm with this, you're with that, we're against each other. And that's the divide and conquer method that Esau has used for a long time, the bankers, that is. Okay, but it does lead up to what? Civil war, civil unrest, civil war. The Egyptians against the Egyptians, Americans against the Americans, because these protests and these divisions are just going to continue to stack up and stack up and stack up until Babylon is thrown into full out, confusion and chaos. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So these people are going to rise up and do what they want to do. When they're not getting the results, they're going to be divided against one another. And then think about, when the kettle boils over, because of the economy, because of the system, because of bills, because of money, because of housing, because of food, whatever. Okay, people are going to take to the streets. Okay, because if they can't buy foods at the grocery store, what are they going to do? They're just going to raid the grocery store. Right? You probably have some crazy people trying to go and milk the gas pump. Turn on the pump right now. I said turn on the pump right now. All kinds of crazy madness. This is going to be a world of chaos in Babylon the Great. Soon come. That's why we're going to need the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, his hedge of protection. So that, because we have to be out here in this world, but we need to be guided through it as well as protected. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Lockdowns, martial law, and of course the divisions. They try to show you that in the Civil War movie. Division. I'm thinking about one particular scene. The dude was at the car wash and he had the two guys hanging up. Okay, he had the chopper in his hand and he was just welcome to take a picture because what? There was no law. No one was gonna, like you do that now. You got somebody stringed up in a car wash with a chopper in your hand, and you take a picture for the press. You're gonna get found out and you're gonna get taken down really quickly. But in the movie, there was no help coming. There were no police. There were no sheriffs. There were no ambulances. Okay, people weren't just running to help one another. It was lawlessness, chaos. See, and that was confusion. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. So the lack of food, main thing everybody's going to need. Food to survive. But the Lord says, my servants shall eat. But these people out here are going to be killing each other. All right? Robbing and raiding each other. Some are going to be dying just because they don't have it. And then on top of it, it says, and for great tribulation, because all the perils that are going to be happening around this time. Okay, that's why we keep saying over and over, chaos, man, over and over and over. We keep saying chaos. All right, and Esau thinks that he's going to get his order out of chaos, not knowing that the moment he's able to enact his microchip is the moment where he's going to be taken out of the way. Not at the very same moment, but once he pulls that off, all right, then we know it's time for him to be out of there, because the Lord is not going to allow him to just carry on, for years and years and years, like the churches think with one single antichrist man. I mean, just carry on years and years and years just doing wickedness and evil under this microchip system. No, when you're about to fill your belly, hey, the Lord can get you up out of there. All right. So now I got one more thing I want to get into. And I'm going to read this here. So 82nd Airborne put on high alert. As of early March 2026, elements of the 82nd Airborne Division, specifically from the 3rd Brigade Combat Team at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, are on high alert for potential rapid deployment to the Middle East. The unit has halted a training exercise in Louisiana, fueling speculation about imminent deployment following heightened tensions with Iran. The division's immediate response force is prepared to deploy within 18 hours, though no formal deployment orders were issued as of March 6, 2026. Alright, so we're still up in the air right now. Immediate context. The 82nd Airborne's 3rd Brigade was pulled from a major training exercise at Fort Polk to remain in North Carolina, a move often signaling impending action. Alright, a move. It says the 3rd Brigade was pulled from a major training exercise at Fort Polk to remain in North Carolina, a move often signaling impending action. So once again, it's up in the air, but it very well may be that boots are going to hit the ground in Iran. Triggering events. The alert follows increased U.S. airstrikes against Iran and rising violence in the region. Role. The 82nd is the U.S. Army Specialized Rapidly Deployable Immediate Response Force. And speaking of response force, I didn't mention when I was talking about the last topic there, riots and chaos and things, the QRF, the Quick Response Force. They are a group specifically, 500 troops in every state, except for some that are smaller, there's less troops, but they are specifically designed, all right, to come out and quell riots and uproars in cities of different states. That's what the QRF is for, the Quick Response Forces. All right, and if they can't handle it, they're probably going to bring in the National Guard and the regular troops or whatever they need to do. All right, and of course at that point, if they have to do that, Agent 47, number 47 is going to invoke the Insurrection Act. All right. So the 82nd is the U.S. Army's Specialized Rapidly Deployable Immediate Response Force, the IRF. Potential location: the troops are on standby for potential deployment to Kuwait or other regional areas. All right. And there's not much around Kuwait, obviously. I mean, you have Iran very near, Iraq very near, Kuwait. So you have the UAE, Yemen, Oman. What's that other one? Well, you got Saudi Arabia. I'm thinking there's another small place over there, but you get the general location over there near the Persian Gulf. All right, there's not much around that area there. So, what do you mean when it says, other regional areas? All right. So, what's this note? Reports indicate the 82nd Airborne Division Combat Aviation Brigade, Pegasus, of all names, Pegasus, is already scheduled for a routine deployment to the U.S. Central Command area later in the spring. All right, so that's more right there, and we're going to end it with one verse. Joel 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, Babylon the great smith, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, over there where they're so-called planning to go now with this 82nd, whatever they would call the airborne. What was it, airborne? 82nd, yeah, airborne. And my grandfather on my mom's side was an airborne ranger. 82nd Airborne put on high alert. So yeah, so this is what we see as a very major possibility right now. Okay, and I would drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. Obviously, the areas, the regional area, we just named a bunch of those areas over there, which is probably the one of the biggest to the left would be Saudi Arabia, obviously. Then you have Iraq and Iran, also major. Jordan, pretty good size too. I'm not hearing too much noise with Jordan as of right now. But anyways, back to the point though. Yeah, so over in this general regional area here, okay, there's talk of boots hitting the ground over there, with his face toward the east sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. Yeah, because men are going to die. Okay. Oh, hold on. Beautiful. See, I can't even close out. That was the only verse I wanted to close with. Hold on, let me read that again at the bottom half of that, and then we'll close out from Ezra. Look at Satan. Okay, there we go. It wouldn't let me back. So it says, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. Now, if you go back to Ezra's, see, now I can't remember even where it was there. It's definitely in matter of fact, let me just type it in. Having no helpers. All right, and we're gonna go back. Yep, right there. Okay, it's in 16. All right. Yep, second edge of 16 to 33. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. All right, the virgin shall mourn. What is a virgin? A woman who's never had intercourse. right? Having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn. So obviously these women have children because it says their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Why? In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. See? And that's going to leave what? Them helpless. Hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. So there you go. So this is what the talk is right now. Boots hitting the ground over there in that regional area. But the decision is still up in the air. So we're watching to see what's going to happen. What is the Lord going to do? Right. But that was pretty much it. That was the highlights of the news I want to briefly tap into real quick. So just got one more clip for you. So I'm gonna just say shalom.
This is Dabu 7. You were looking at a barrage of warheads, a cluster that was seen flying over the skies of Israel, freaking a lot of people out in the area. We also have Tel Aviv getting hit. As you can see here, overnight it caused blackouts in some areas, although Tel Aviv looks to be up and operational at the moment. And we are also getting word that the 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. military has been put on high alert for a possible ground operation in Iran. That is per the Washington Post, and it seems they're gearing up for big action. They have replaced Khomeini with his son, and Trump is saying that he will not last long, so I expect action. How long this new leader lasts, yet to be seen, but I would say they're going to try to hit them hard, and there's going to be another wave of big-time strikes that hit Tehran, or wherever he's hiding. I also expect huge waves to come back and pound Israel, simply because they cannot stop all the missiles, they've shown this, and because Iran is only going through their low-grade stuff. They're using very low-grade drones and missiles, burning up very expensive stuff on the west side to counter it. That's why they're smiling like, look, you're going to run out of ammo by the time we even get to the big dogs. Whether that's all talk or not, it is said they have stockpiles beyond stockpiles of weapons, drones, missiles, and China and Russia just keep feeding them. So it is a concern, although they said they're not going to strike neighboring countries unless those countries strike them first. Iran is prepared for a ground invasion, saying that the U.S. will not win it, no matter what they think. We've also had some more soldiers die in this battle, and people not happy about gas prices, but Trump doesn't seem to care. There is a repetitive theme that has been seen across the mainstream media news, talking about short-term pain brings long-term gain. And when you see dozens of outlets repeating this, it's propaganda at its finest, trying to convince the American people that this is needed for whatever the administration wants.